You ready? You're recording? Everybody, welcome to finally, it's two dudes, one car. We're in the Cybertruck right now.
Let's go.
Parker, thank you so much for doing. By the way, you're making a dream come true for me, so I appreciate it.
Really? Because I don't know what's happening. You just said meet at this location in a parking lot instead of our normal podcast studio.
That's right.
So I figure something weird.
Well, what I want to do is I used to have a show called Hotbox Hot Topics. And
Big fan of the show.
Not a lot of people wanted to be in it because we smoke weed, right? And at the same time, when I started it, I had a Model X, and they had the biohazard mode, where you click on the button and it takes all of the bad air from inside and cleans it up and dumps it outside of the car. And we used to smoke, basically. We used to hotbox the Model X and then turn that on. So I want to make the same video right now in the Cybertruck. I want to show everybody how good the cleaning of the air system is in the Cybertruck. It might suck. It might not. This is the first time I'm trying it. But today we're going to do it with our friend Hookah.
Yeah, he came all the way out from Mexico.
Came all the way from
so
Mexico.
Nice of him. Thank you.
So we're doing this. We have like a couple hookahs right here inside of the Cybertruck. And we're just going to have like the same chat. I'm sorry if you guys can hear the little bubbling. That's just going to be us enjoying the hookah. And we're going to see how smoky this gets. So be patient. We're going to try to make this as fast and easy, just like how my wife likes it. And no, I'm just kidding. Sorry. And we'll go from there. So
cheers.
Cheers. Enjoy your hookah.
Thank you.
And hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Now, I want to start with this. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine, and I was saying how the Ferrari 488 might be the worst Ferrari ever made. Why are you laughing?
Yeah, because it's kind of accurate, I guess.
I think it's one of the worst. Probably one of the worst, like, racy Ferraris that they ever made. Because I'm not talking about, like, the California, the Portofino.
I was gonna name
you can't
those.
include those, yeah. And the 488 just felt, like, muted, didn't have, like, lots of, it wasn't fast.
Yeah.
Didn't sound great. It looked just like the 458. And I want to ask you, because this is a conversation I was having, how do you feel about the 750S? Because I feel like the 750S now, which, by the way, everybody that's listening, I'm talking about the new McLaren, right?
Yeah,
the substitute for the 720S. The 750S kind of looks the same. You've driven it?
Yeah,
I saw
I've
your
driven
video.
it. I think it's difficult because unlike Ferrari and Lamborghini, when they name their cars, they have an additional word or they totally change the number. The 750S, it sounds like a totally new model compared to the 720S, but really it's just kind of like a facelifted upgrade of it. So if they called it like the 720S Evo, I feel like people would be less annoyed that it looks the same. But driving-wise, it's fantastic. It's way better.
Well, it's an LT. It's a 765 LT.
It's a softer 765 LT.
Yeah, which obviously moves the story forward, but I don't know if he does it for the brand as much as they think, because this to me tells me one thing. Is McLaren was running out of money.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows. And do you think this is going to be a throwaway update or would you rather spend the extra money or get a used 720S, for example?
I think you're just drowning in cash and you don't know what to do with it. And you're like, help me. Let me get a 750S to get rid of some of this cash. Because if you think about it logically, for $200,000 or $230,000, you can get a used 720S.
That's a lot of car for the money,
Modify it a little bit, and then it'll be faster than a 750S. Or you spend $400,000 on a new car.
Yeah, and to me, that's where I don't know if the upgrade is worth it. I am sure whatever comes out as the LT version, because the 488 was the father of the Pista.
Yeah.
And the Pista was an incredible car.
The difference between the boring 488 and the incredible and much better looking Pista is pretty impressive. Because I love and have always loved, even when it came out, to now the look of the 458. The 488, when it first came out, I hated it.
Yeah.
It's grown on me a little bit. But then the Pista, when that came out, I loved the way it looked instantly and still do. I think
it was a home run. Yeah. And do you think McLaren is going to go and basically do a little copy of the 765? Because the Pista really changed from the 488, dude. Like, it was a big, like, even the scoop, the hood scoop that it had was so cool. And I don't know if, because I think the 765 is one of the coolest cars just by,
Absolutely.
From the outside looking at it, probably a bias that I have one. But I don't know. How can they make the same car better at that point?
I almost feel like it's a car that they weren't planning on making, and perhaps they were waiting for the technology for a next generation hybrid car, because it feels like they're likely going to need to go in that direction to compete with power, to add a hybrid powertrain, and maybe they're not ready yet because the Artura had all these delays, and they're like, we need something, let's make a 750S, let's get some extra cash, and then in my eyes there wouldn't be an LT version of the 750S. They would just move on to a new hybrid platform to compete against the Revuelto, and then make a LT version of that.
That's interesting. That's an interesting way of looking at it. How do you feel about the Artura now that you're talking about it? Because when you compare it to now we're looking into the Ferraris.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at a hybrid powertrain, the cool car, like the cheap car, the accessible one for everyone. Everybody can come in and just buy an Artura, go to the dealership and buy one.
Yeah.
It's obviously not the same with the 296, but now there's used 296s and the market's finally getting to the prices. Like, it's not as crazy as when they were out and they wanted $600,000 for them.
Yeah. At one point, I think 296s superseded the pricing of a SF90.
No.
I think there was a brief period of time where a low mileage, like a 40-mile new but not new 296 would be more than a 1,000-mile SF90.
Yeah, they were 650 when they first started coming out, because I remember I was in Austin and my friend Keith showed me the car. I went and drove it and I was like, what the fuck is this? Because I think the 296 is one of my favorite cars I've ever driven.
Absolutely.
Like, just regular production car? Are you kidding me?
No, the Speciale version of that is actually going to be one of the craziest cars ever. Because when I reviewed it, I was stunned, and I kind of wasn't liking the direction Ferrari was going. The SF90 was a little bit boring and muted.
It's just a big GT, no?
Exactly. I love their V12 cars, but the SF90 doesn't sound very good, and it's just kind of, it's really fast in a straight line. And I never loved the way it looked. But then when they made the XX version of that,
oh my
love the way that
God,
looks.
dude! Anytime Ferrari goes hard, they know what they're doing.
100%.
And it's another one of those cars I'm always gonna miss, like the freaking super fast dude.
Yeah.
I try to get so many of them. I even had a friend of mine sell me one. It was $780,000 at the lowest when they got really cheap.
For the Competizione?
No, for the
812
for the one
Superfast?
before. I'm sorry.
F12 TDF.
The TDF.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been a good price.
I know. And I was like, no, they're going to come down more. I always do this dumb shit. And
yeah, Ferrari doesn't usually come down. It's crazy.
No. They get to a certain point where you think, oh, here it comes, the good prices.
Yeah.
But that's the good price.
Yeah.
And I think
100%.
at 800, that was the good price. And I missed out on it.
That car is amazing.
Yeah, I've always liked those cars.
Yeah.
The Competizione is one of the sexiest cars I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I just think the Artura is a little lost in the catalog. I feel
100%.
I feel like McLaren makes a lot of in-between cars. And a lot of in-between cars are not good. An in-between car would be like the McLaren GT.
That's a really good description of the cars that they made that aren't that successful. The in-between cars.
But it's an in-between, dude. You're making something to satisfy everyone, and you're not satisfying anyone.
I think it's hard because they are a business, and they need money. I would imagine that McLaren as a company, and we're both huge McLaren fans and supporters, that they would want to make like every car like their LTs and their hypercars, and just make the coolest, most badass cars. But to sell enough volume to, keep the lease payments going on their MTC. I mean, they used to own the technical center, one of the most beautiful things. Then they had to sell it, just to keep themselves alive.
But now the Bahrainis have it. So my guys, I know if anything, I have all the faith in the world in the Arabs, because the Arabs, dude, will throw as much money as needed for that thing to pick up, and they also need to recover from all of the people that they've lost. Because they got in so hard, and when the 720S came out, people were like, McLaren is on fire.
Yeah.
And not like my car.
I mean,
not like my car.
Literally on fire, but the brand was as well.
The brand was on fire at that time. And everybody started poaching engineers from McLaren.
Yep.
Like Ferrari took away some. Even Rivian had like one of the main guys that developed the new lineup for McLaren. So everybody took a little bit from McLaren, and I feel like they need to recover from that moment still.
And the delays of the Artura, like that whole thing put them in a weird spot, I think. The back-to-back McLaren GT not selling well and not being that interesting of a car, and then having severe delays on the Artura, and then dropping a 750S that looks like a 720S. That was like a lot of cars in a row that didn't hit as hard as they.
Well, that was a lot of the
Imagine.
cars at the end when they had no money, and
Yeah.
then the Bahrainis had to come in and rescue them. So interesting that's. It's crazy that we all think a big company is just a big company and it's never gonna go out of business, but they do, and that brings me to my next subject.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been looking at car prices lately?
I try not to. Because I'm trying to spend less money, but I dabble on the internet and look at stuff, and yeah, it's pretty. Things are good right now,
Dude. Things are really. If you're a buyer, things are really good.
Yeah.
But man, this is a big problem. So a lot of people might not know this, but there's in regular dealerships. Let's not even go McLaren, Ferrari, Aston Martin. In regular dealerships, you're looking at an inventory year to year. So last year to today, they have 52% more inventory right now just sitting at dealerships.
Wow.
And the prices, the drops are huge. Like you're seeing drops month to month that are between 5 and 9% on vehicle values, dude.
Wow.
And a lot of people make it seem that it's just EVs, but it's everything. And dealers, and a lot of people will go to the dealership and look at the price and say, dude, this is the prices are not coming down, but there's a lot of incentives. Like once you get into it with them, like there's the. Have you heard about the freedom incentive for the Mach-E's, the Mustangs?
No, tell me about the freedom.
It's $30,000 off. It's come on.
That is literal freedom. That's incredible. I mean, what is the car after the incentive? $6?
So from 60,000, you drop it to 30,000 right off, like
and then I'm
off the bat.
Still getting a Model 3 over it.
I would too. Well, yeah, and it takes a certain kind of person to buy the Mach-E instead of a Tesla. I don't understand what it takes, but probably not a lot of brains. I'm sorry, guys, if you drive a Mach-E, you're still in time to burn it and call the insurance company. No, I'm just kidding.
I just don't get it. I don't love it in any way, shape, or form.
The Mach-E?
Yeah.
It loses everything that the Mustang was about, and now it's just like, meh. So I want to ask you, do you think the car market is adjusting and the prices are going to come down, or do you think they're just going to keep discounting and this is just like a hiccup on the road, a bump on the road, and everything will continue to go up? And why?
Oh, I think we've had such a weird period of time in the last 4 years that's kind of unprecedented with COVID, prices dropping drastically, and then prices going higher than they ever have. I mean, if I knew the exact answer to this question, I'd buy a whole bunch of cars or sell a whole bunch of cars. But I think we're getting close to the bottom. That's my guess. I think a lot of cars are getting to the point where it's almost ridiculous, like a 675 LT you can get for $200,000.
No way.
Not in an amazing spec, but yeah.
You can get a 675
200
LT.
to 240, you can get a 600.
But that's what I'm saying.
LT.
But the problem is people don't have any money. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, dude, there's so much money saved and whatnot. But people are just going to credit like crazy, and credit is dead.
But how low can those things go before it doesn't make any sense anymore? I mean, the SF90 is $440,000.
They're so cheap, man.
Yeah.
The SF90 took a massive dump.
I mean, we can't have a $100,000 675, can we? I mean, I hope. Can we make that happen?
That would be ridiculous.
I'd buy a bunch.
And I started seeing, because I saw Paul Wallace.
Yep.
Supercars of London. Paul was posting on X. He was saying, dude, these cars are now at prices that I can't believe it. Is it time to buy a car? Mm-hmm. And I asked him, how long did it take for the prices to drop that much? And he said, less than 6 months. Less than 6 months, dude.
Yeah.
And what do you think needs to happen for the market to catch the floor and then start to go up? Or do you think it's just going to catch those low prices and just going to swim in those low prices for a long time? You're Mr. I want to get a new car and I need to be informed. So I'm curious about this, how you look at this, how you're living it.
I mean, I think if interest rates drop, people are going to start buying more cars. Right now, car payments are pretty ridiculous. Even if the car price is cheaper, your payment might be more because of the interest rates.
It only benefits people that have cash.
Yeah. With all the, I mean, yeah, with all the cars sitting there, I think we talked about this last time, that the dealership itself is becoming a bit unnecessary. I think they could drop the prices of cars even more if they eliminated the dealership, if they eliminated all this inventory just sitting there.
What you're saying, dude, what you're saying is so true. And I think that's what's happening right now. Because people don't realize Tesla was the first one to report, guys, we're not selling the same amount of cars that we were before.
Yeah.
And people like instantly go into the EV narrative saying the EVs are the ones that are coming down in price like crazy. They're the ones that can sustain prices, and they're the only ones dropping like this. But it's all the market.
No,
it's
it's
all
everything.
around. Yeah, it's everything. So Tesla is the first one because they're direct to customer.
Yeah.
So when you have a customer that's already damaged that can't buy any more cars, then Tesla's the first one that's going to see it because directly they're telling you, dude, I sold these many cars to that many people. Whereas car makers, and a lot of people might not know this, count their sales the moment they sell it to the dealership.
Yeah.
The dealer gets the car, that car is sold by Ford. So as much inventory as they have sitting on a lot right now, Ford already considers that sold.
And then they'll get sales from the dealership level for selling a car below invoice just to get kickbacks from the company themselves so they can say they sold 30 cars that month.
Yeah. So this is where the incentives start to get aggressive.
Yeah, it's almost all lies.
Yeah.
Like you didn't sell the car when the dealership bought it, and then you didn't sell the car for a meaningful amount when you sold it for below invoice. So what?
Yeah. So what
is happening?
What I think is happening is the makers are flooding the market, the dealerships right now with cars, so that the dealerships go through hard times. And you can get rid of, like, let's say, the not efficient dealerships, if you will. And that way they can start the direct to customer sales because they want to. And this is something that blew my mind. You go and I talk to a bunch of friends that have dealers.
Okay.
Like mega dealers.
Yeah.
And they all complain to me about the same thing. And they don't realize what's happening. They're like, dude, the makers are asking us to like do a certain amount of transactions online through the website, and we need to meet that quota. And it's like they're not giving us incentives on that end, but they're giving us incentives on this. So all the basically what they're saying is we're giving them the traffic directly. We're giving them the customers directly. We just haven't realized that they're going to take away the whole thing from us.
I mean, the dealership is like the DMV. Nobody wants to go there. The experience sucks every time, and you have to.
You would say that, right? Because
Yeah.
there are people that say, and especially these are used car dealers, that say, no, dealerships are always going to be around because people want to negotiate the price. I don't see anyone having a problem with the Tesla prices or the Rivian prices.
No. Well, I can
Well-
go on for that. But, I mean, if the car is priced at what it's priced, and you know that I'm not paying more than someone else for the same car because I didn't negotiate well. If you buy a Tesla on the same date as someone else, you're paying the same amount of money. It's not, I am better at negotiating because I watched a couple of YouTube videos than you. or I pretended I was interested and then I walked out. It's like playing games. It's like dating for high school students. It's like,
know.
Oh, no, we're not interested. And then you're actually desperate for the car and you leave them for a week and hope they call back and you're playing this. It's just...
It's a dumb game.
Dumb.
It's dumb. No one needs that. I think the dealer model is changing, and it's going to go into direct sales, whether they like it or not. And especially once the EVs continue to sell at the pace that they are selling, whether they like it or not. Tesla keeps moving cars, and they had a lower drop than BYD, for example. So they keep moving the cars, and people realize, man, these low prices on these Teslas with incentives and everything is making us obsolete. Well, how are we going to compete with a regular ICE car, with a regular combustion engine car? And the prices just don't justify it.
Well, Michigan, the state of Michigan, kind of predicted this a long time ago. When Tesla first started doing their direct-to-consumer sales, Michigan was going to make it illegal to sell Teslas because they have this dealership network ingrained. The big three is there. Everyone works at a dealer at the company. So it was this like cultural disaster. But I think they knew they wanted to outlaw it because it was so effective. Because it would just eliminate these people's jobs. So if you could get the jobs for people who are going to lose them from the dealer network, give them jobs doing something else.
But what are they going to do, man?
I don't know. I don't know.
AI's coming in and also taking away all the jobs. Like, so if we talk a little economy crap for everyone to know, we hear that the labor market is strong, right? That we're adding 300,000 jobs this month. When the reality is we are having the biggest drop of full-time employment in history when we don't call it a recession. Ever, ever, ever. And all those full-time jobs that are disappearing are turning into 2-3 jobs per one disappearing of those full-time jobs. That means people are going to get 2 jobs to make up the difference for it. So this is happening all across the board, all around everywhere.
Well, it's hard to figure out what's going on because they just redefine the terms every time something doesn't go the way you want it to. Like a recession was, 2 quarters in a row of negative GDP, and now, no, that definition
doesn't count.
That doesn't apply anymore. So we're going to have to change that so that we're not in a recession.
Isn't that incredible?
It's pretty incredible.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
You got to give it to those guys. Speaking about decisions, I saw there's a brand new Cadillac, dude. I got to find this. This is insane. I got to ask you if you've seen it. It's called the Celestiq Celestiq, and it's a $340,000 EV all-electric luxury flagship sedan that Cadillac is making. I mean, this has to be the fastest depreciating car in history.
It will be.
If you're buying one right now, the idea already depreciated.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about Cadillac getting into a market that belongs to Rolls-Royce, for example? And I know it's a limited car.
It's a wild move, in my opinion. I think Cadillac's doing really well recently. The Escalade V is awesome. I just drove the CT4V and the CT5V Blackwing. Awesome cars. It's an aggressive move, making a $350,000 Cadillac, and that's the base price. So let's say it's $400 plus. I don't.
What?
It looks really cool. I've seen them in person, and it looks like a concept car.
Yeah.
And if it looks exactly like that when it hits the road, it's undoubtedly awesome looking. But I think there's a limit to a brand in terms of what they can charge for a product. And especially in the luxury space where it doesn't have definable attributes, like a performance car, you can say, well, it's faster than a Bugatti, so how is it not worth XYZ? Because it has a fast lap time or a 0 to 60. But the luxury element is really hard to quantify.
And how much luxury can there really be where you're like going to make a decision? Am I getting a Ghost or am I getting the Cadillac?
There's no universe that I would live in where I would choose the Cadillac over a Rolls-Royce.
No, none. And this to me is a sign of the time. This is the peak of the market. This is letting you know that now the crazy shit is coming out that no one will buy.
Yeah.
That no one will buy.
Yeah.
Because do you know how many they're making of this?
No.
It's supposed to be super limited, but I just wonder how many people are really going to order this car. Because
6.
Who are the people that buy Cadillacs that are like, oh man, I love my Caddy so much. I have like all these classics. I'm going to buy this one because it's going to be a history, part of the history of Cadillac.
I think just the price is just too aggressive because there's plenty of people. Cadillac has a devout fan base, but you combine it with the electric car that already is known for being the fastest depreciating type of vehicle. If you look at any car, the Taycan Turbo S or a e-tron GT or a Mach-E, they just all tank. And then you add in the other depreciation king, the ultimate luxury vehicle. It's a disaster.
It's a disaster combo. Yeah. And I can't believe there's a serious room of people that work at Cadillac getting paid big bucks. And they're all like, this is a great idea, guys. This is our money maker. Like,
I think if they had made it $200,000, where it's, do I buy a full spec Lucid Air Sapphire that's really fast, or do I get the more luxurious Cadillac?
Then
it seems more reasonable. But for $350,000, $400,000.
Yeah, I mean, in taxes, dude, you got to account for the taxes because, oh, my God. And, by the way, the people that can buy that car cannot qualify for any type of incentive EV.
Oh, yeah.
So, no one's getting that right now.
I got to say, the car is not hotboxing as much as I would have imagined.
You think it's the AC?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's kill the AC for the last minute. Let's go into Formula One.
Let's go hard.
Let's go hard. We're going to die a little bit, guys. So if you see a sweaty Mexican in the back, please just know it's disgusting, and I have nothing to do with it. I understand how bad it is, but here we go. Now, let's talk Formula One, dude. There's a lot of things happening. There was a Japanese Grand Prix in Suzuka. Great race. It's a racetrack that everybody loves. All drivers love because it's got basically a little bit of everything. Fast corners, slow corners, long straights, and a lot of sloping, up and down.
Yeah.
It's it's a fun racetrack to watch with a crazy ass turn, the 135R, I think, or R135, I think it's called. Amazing. Some passes that we saw were incredible. So number one, the Max Verstappen won the race. Obviously,
What a
Checo.
surprise.
Yeah, Red Bull did a 1-2. So Checo was number 2. He had a great weekend. And then in third place came Carlos Sainz, my hero, the most underrated driver, I think, in the grid right now. And I think Ferrari number 1. So we lost power 30 times. Sorry, Parker. I'm sweating like a whore in church right now.
Is that a typical thing?
Yeah, for me, yeah.
No,
For
I
me-
just meant whores in church sweating.
Well, no, that's why. That's
Yeah,
why they're sweating.
I guess
That's
so.
why it's uncommon.
And we're in biodefense mode
We're
now.
in
All right, here we
biodefense
go.
mode. Let's go. Let's see
Oh,
how
wow.
long it takes.
It appears it's working
Let's
pretty
see.
well.
Look at how the air's pulling.
And it's on.
Biodefense mode activated.
Wow, look at all of us.
It's doing something.
It is working.
That's crazy.
Wow.
You can see all the smoke.
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, this is ridiculous, actually.
Yep, it's going to clean it.
That's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty
clean at
impressive,
this
actually.
point.
Yeah. So it does work. Bio defense mechanism. does
Effective. Effective for hotboxing.
work. It does work. Well, I think we did it, Parker.
Yeah. I don't know what we did, but we did it.
But we did it.
Yeah.
We sat here at 101 degrees inside, sweating a little bit, but now we know that the biohazard mode actually really works.
Yeah, so if you ever want to film a podcast, sweat your ass off, and smoke hookah, and have it sort of suck out of the car at the end. Cybertruck, baby.
It definitely works. Told you guys,
No, it
Cybertruck is
does
the best
work.
car
It
in the
does work.
world. See you guys on the next one.